Okay, I think we're ready. Angie, let us know if we can go here.
Good morning. Yes, we are about to go live. And we are live. Thank you.
Sure, thank you. All right, good morning, everybody. This is the Mendocino County Subdivision Committee meeting for December the 9th, 2021. We'll start with roll call. I'm Russ Ford with Planning and Building Services.
Alex Sequeira, Department of Transportation.
Elena Dooley, Environmental Health.
Good morning, everyone. All right, so the first item on our agenda is some administration business. Agenda item 2A, discussion and possible action, including adoption of resolution of the Mendocino County Subdivision Committee finding that state or local officials continue to recommend measures to promote social distancing in connection with public meetings. So this is just by the recommendation of the public health officer that we continue to hold digital meetings instead of in person. So we just need a motion and a second to adopt that.
I motion we approve this resolution for today's meeting.
Second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Russ, I got a question.
Sure.
Are we going to go in the order of the agenda, or are you going to want to do coastal permit ones first?
So we are going in the order of the agenda.
Okay.
Because the coastal permits B and C, we're going to continue. They didn't get noticed properly for coastal, so they can't go to CPA today anyway.
Oh, okay.
I think those are the only coastal. Okay, so we are on to agenda item 3A, which is a boundary line adjustment, B 2021-0054 for Virginia and Benjamin, we had the names messed up, for McLean and Company, let's call it. This was continued from the November 10th, 2021 meeting. This is a boundary line adjustment to adjust boundaries between 4 existing parcels, about half a mile north of Redwood Valley on the east side of East Road at 2200 Road F. So, this. So Alex, last time we talked about this, I think you had some concerns about the flag lot, but I believe that's since been taken care of.
Yeah, I talked with Ron Franz and we discussed it, and that road actually comes out on parcel 4 anyway, and there's existing easements for access to that property, so we're fine. We're fine with the way it is.
Okay. So environmental health, did you have any other comments or concerns on this one?
No.
Okay. And planning is just recommending standard conditions. So I need a motion for this.
I motion we approve boundary line adjustment 2021-0054 with standard planning conditions.
I second that.
Okay. All in favor? Thank you. Okay, so next up is agenda item 3B, which is boundary line adjustment 2021-0048 for Kenneth Hodges and Vanessa Nolasco. This is a coastal development boundary line adjustment to merge 2 parcels in the Little River area in the coastal zone 0.55 miles southeast of Little River on the east side of State Route 1. Let's see. Looks like Vance is here for this one. So Vance, I don't know if you heard our discussion already that this didn't get properly noticed for the CPA hearing.
Yes, I know.
Okay.
I'm on for one of the track reviews.
Got it. Okay. Okay. So my recommendation would be to continue this to the January 13th meeting of the subdivision committee.
Can I ask why?
Because I hadn't planned on hearing it because of the noticing requirements, because it can't go to CPA. And then, so I just found out this morning that we could have heard it at subdivision today because the noticing was done, but I haven't done a review on it. So I'm not comfortable making a recommendation at this point.
All right. Then I recommend Subdivision Committee meeting on January 13th, 2022.
Second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, next up is agenda item 3C, boundary line adjustment B 2021-0040 for Sunny Ridge West Farm LLC. The applicant is Ronald Horn, agent is Richard Seal. This is another coastal development boundary line adjustment to adjust approximately 2 acres from parcel 1 to parcel 2 in the coastal zone, 7.9 miles northwest of Walla Town Center at 45,000 Iverson Road. So this one had the same issues as the one before with not being properly noticed for CPA. So again, I'd recommend that we continue this to the January 13th subdivision committee.
Well, Scott told me that, and he told me to lower OPS.
Okay.
And then I
I
lowered OPS, and
recommend
he
that
said
we
it was
continue boundary line adjustment 2021-00-40 to the next subdivision committee meeting, January 13th, 2022.
Line is gone.
I second that.
All in favor?
Let's see if I turn up the volume.
Okay, next up, agenda item 3D, boundary line adjustment B 2021-0046 for Paul Fry and Company. This is a boundary line adjustment to transfer 1 acre from lot 2 to lot 1, about 4 miles northwest of Redwood Valley on the west side of Tom Kai Road at 14,350 Tom Kai Road. Do we have anybody here? Mr. Barrett is here. Okay, environmental health. Any comments or concerns?
No.
Transportation?
No comment.
Okay, so planning does have one special condition because one of these parcels is in Williamson Act. So this would be special condition 7, that non-renewal of the Williamson Act for that portion being transferred from lot 2 to lot 1 shall be filed and approved prior to recording clearance being granted.
Okay, hold on. I did not get all of that. So I've got special condition 7. And we're talking about which parcels?
So we are talking about so it's going to be for 107,212, I believe, in this case. So it's the 1 acre parcel that's being granted out is in contract and cannot stay in contract there by itself. So they need to file a non-renewal, go through the non-renewal process to non-renew that 1 acre portion.
Okay. So I recommend that we approve boundary line adjustment 2021-0046 with special planning condition number 7 regarding boundary line, regarding Williamson Act's portion of APN 107-200-12 being removed from the Williamson Act. Prior to approval?
Yeah, prior to recording clearance.
Prior to recording.
I second that.
Okay. All in favor?
Is that gonna go for the next one too?
Yep. May as well start writing now. Okay, agenda item 3E, boundary line adjustment B 2021-0047 for Matthew and Sandra Fry and Company. This is very similar to the previous one, a boundary line adjustment to transfer 1.5 acres from lot 2 to lot 1, 4 miles northwest of Redwood Valley on the west side of Tom Kai Road at 14,000 Tom Kai Road and Company there. So this is essentially the same as the previous adjustment. It's just a different, going to a different ownership, and it's coming from a different APN. It looks like it's all the same legal parcel. So the APN is 107,213, I believe. And that's the 1.5 acre piece that's going to Matthew. So environmental health, do you have any other conditions or concerns on this one?
I don't. I'm just making sure I'm keeping track of which parcels are what. There's so many maps.
Right. Transportation
No comment.
and planning is recommending special condition of approval, which is the same one, an application to non-renew the Williamson Act contract of the portion being transferred to lot 1 shall be filed prior to recording clearance being granted.
Okay. I move that we approve boundary line adjustment 2021-0047 with special planning condition number 7 that APN 107-200-13, the portion being transferred, must apply for non-renewal of the Williamson Act prior to recording.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, next up, boundary line adjustment, agenda item 3F, boundary line adjustment B 2021-0049 from Matthew and Billy Taylor. Agent is Ron Franz. Reconfigure the boundaries between 4 existing parcels, 4.5 miles north of Willets on the north side of Reynolds Highway, located at 26,700 Reynolds Highway, Willets. Is anybody here for this application? Don't see Ron. Okay, environmental health. Any comments?
No comments.
Okay. Transportation.
No comments.
Okay, and planning is just recommending standard conditions of approval.
Okay. I move that we approve boundary line adjustment 2021-0049 with standard planning conditions.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, agenda item 3G, boundary line adjustment B 2021-0051 for McDowell Farming Company and Selway Family Foundation. This is a boundary line adjustment to reconfigure the boundaries between 2 existing parcels to relocate an existing single-family dwelling. This is 3.65 miles east of Hopland on the east side of Highway 101 at 3811 Highway 175. Is there anybody here for this application? Okay, environmental health.
I just wanted to inform them, this was an accessory dwelling unit on one parcel going to the other, but they're so old, they never met any of those conditions. So if they have some plans for this structure, they're going to have some EH requirements in the future, but not for the boundary line adjustment.
Okay, for
They don't have,
modernizing.
nothing on record.
Okay.
So that was more of an FYI to them.
Okay, transportation.
No comment.
And planning is recommending approval with a special condition that an application to rescind and re-enter the Williamson Act contract shall be filed prior to recording clearance being granted.
Okay. Application to rescind. That's short
Rescind and
of
re-enter.
non-renewal, huh?
No, rescind and re-enter.
Rescind and re-enter.
I'm sorry, did I say rescind?
rescind application to re-enter. Let me make sure. Special planning condition number 7, that there must be an application to rescind and re-enter.
Rescind and re-enter the Williamson Act contract. Yeah. Just to adjust the contract boundaries to the new legal parcel boundaries.
Okay. I move that we approve boundary line adjustment 2021-0051 with special planning condition number 7, that they must apply to rescind and re-enter the Williamson Act prior to recording.
I second that.
All in favor? Okay, next up, agenda item 3H, boundary line adjustment B 2021-0052 for Bruce Lee and Nicole Humphreys and Marilyn and Richard Wood. This is a boundary line adjustment to reconfigure boundaries between parcel 1, parcel 2, located 6 miles east of Willits, north of Bear Canyon Road at 18,520 Mariposa Creek Road. Looks like Ms. Humphreys
I'm here.
is here. Good morning.
Nicole's here. Good morning.
And Ms. Carrera is here.
Yes, I'm here too. Good morning.
Do you guys have any comments or anything you want to say about the project?
Just that we've already gone over this with Marlena and I think we're good to go.
Okay. Okay, then, environmental
I'm
health,
gonna hang up.
any further comments? Transportation,
No comment.
okay, and planning is just recommending standard conditions of approval.
I move that we
Okay, thank you very much. Oh,
I move that we approve boundary line adjustment 2021-0052 with special standard conditions. Sorry.
I second that.
Okay.
All in favor?
Thanks, everyone. Nicole,
you.
you're done.
thank you. Okay, leave. Right?
Mm.
Okay, next up, agenda item 3I, boundary line adjustment 2021-0057 for Kevin and Christine Aiken and Edward Nelson. This is to reconfigure boundary lines between, looks like 2 parcels, 1.7 miles northeast of Ukiah at 851 Ford Road. So Ron Franz is our agent. Do we have anybody here for this application? Looks like no.
Ed Nelson's here.
Okay. Any comments, Ed?
I'm just observing and answer a question if needed.
Okay. Okay, environmental health,
No comment.
transportation,
No comment.
and planning is recommending standard conditions of approval.
All right. I move that we approve boundary line adjustment 2021-0057 with standard conditions.
I second that.
All in favor? Thank you.
John.
Okay, and finally for boundary line adjustments, we have agenda item 3J, boundary line adjustment 2021-0059 for John and Ann Cedarholm. This is to reconfigure boundary lines between 2 parcels, 0.85 miles from the Willett City Center on the south side of Holly Street at 239 Holly Street. Holly Street. And Mr. Cedarholm is here. All right, John, any comments or anything you want to say about this?
You're muted, but I'm pretty sure you said no.
There you go. Okay, so do you want to kick this one off, Marlena?
EH has no conditions.
So there was transportation. Do you have any comments?
No comments.
So the issue that I'm seeing from planning is that the existing lot as it is too small to be developed, which I believe is a violation of an EH policy on boundary line adjustments. Because the existing lot is only 500 square feet. Is that right? It's like 10 by 50. Yeah.
Yeah, it's going from, is it 500 square feet to, that's changing?
Yeah.
So it's starting at 500 square feet and moving to 5,500 square feet. And both sizes, existing and proposed, are smaller than the minimum lot size requirements for development with on-site water and on-site sewer, presumably provided from brook trails, because this is in brook trails. So
Brook Trails?
no,
No,
sorry,
no.
wrong file.
Right, not Brook Trails.
Locust.
Willits, but not Willits.
Willits, yeah.
City of Willits is presumably the provider. Is that not correct?
It's county property, not in city limits.
Right, you're just outside the city limits. Do you get water and city service from the city, or do you have well and septic?
That would be city service, right, for water.
That's what just for water?
And sewer.
Yeah. So the county's minimum lot size for that is 6,000 square feet. I had not intended to prevent the boundary line because it's starting under and it's ending under. So it doesn't really change that, but you couldn't apply to develop with a residential unit with this much square footage right now.
Right, I understand that, right. It's not intended to be developed. There is a neighbor who's interested to the north of that parcel, if it can be big enough, you know, give him as much that he's asking for. So all those lots on Eva Claire are all about 5,000, 5,500 lots as you go down the street. And my neighbor to the north has a home on a lot that's about 5,000 or 5,500 square feet. And he's interested in purchasing my lot, which is just south of him, to make his parcel bigger. He just wants to add property to his property.
And that would improve an already existing non-conforming too small lot that is developed into
Yes.
a conforming developed lot
Yes.
is the plan.
Yes. Well, I don't know what he's going to do with it, but he wants a park. Basically, he wants to be able to park. Those lots are so small. He's got trucks and he wants to park them and own the land that he's going to park his trucks on.
Yeah. So environmental health is not going to oppose the boundary line adjustment, but we really want it understood that there's no building permit that could be issued currently for developing that lot.
Yeah, no problem. Mark and I had gone through that in the planning department. So yeah, it's not intended to do that.
As long as that's the plan and everybody's on the same page.
Good. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, so planning, we don't have any conditions or anything that would prevent this. So we're just recommending standard conditions.
Okay. I move that we approve boundary line adjustment 2021-0059 with standard conditions.
I second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you.
The first house out of city limits.
Okay, excuse me. Next up, agenda item 4A, minor subdivisions. This is for MS 2021-0003 for Barbara Willens. Agent is Sam Pope. This is a 2-parcel minor subdivision of a 40.28 acre parcel to create 1 parcel of 20.14 acres and 1 parcel of 20.14 acres. 5 miles northwest of the city of Willits on the east side of Timberline Road at 29301 Timberline Road. So it looks like Ms. Willens is here and Sam is here. So good morning, everyone.
Morning, guys.
Morning, Sam. And Barbara. Yes.
So I believe you guys have copies of the recommended conditions.
Yes.
I was just going to go through those real quick, and then we'll incorporate environmental health conditions as we go along here. Pretty straightforward, I think. So no waiver of surveys requested. You're planning to file a parcel map, and no exceptions. So we'll start with condition 1, which is a note shall be placed on the parcel map. Future external lighting, whether installed for security, safety, or landscape design purposes, shall be shielded, downcast, or positioned in a manner that will not shine or allow light glare to exceed the boundaries of the parcel. That's our dark sky policy. So then we're jumping down to condition number 6 for air quality. A notation shall appear on the parcel map. Future development of building sites, access roads, driveways may be subject to grading requirements. Then condition 7, note shall appear on the parcel map. Access road, driveway, interior circulation routes be maintained in such a manner as to ensure minimum dust generation. So that's for asbestos. So then we will jump down to biological resources, condition number 11, which is just a standard condition that the fee has to be paid to Department of Fish and Wildlife within 10 days of the hearing, not this hearing, but the final approval hearing. So I believe the current fee, we just got an update the other day, is $2,598.25, including the $50 filing fee. So then we have the cultural resources, condition number 12. A note shall appear on the parcel map. In the event that archaeological resources are encountered during development of the property, work in the immediate vicinity of the find shall be halted until all requirements of Mendocino County Code relating to archaeological discoveries have been satisfied. So the discovery clause there. Then we have condition 18, which is the subdivider shall acknowledge in writing to the Department of Planning and Building Services that you'll follow all the best management practices as outlined in that condition. So then fire, condition 22. So we always include the condition for the local fire agency, even if we don't get a letter from the fire agency, just so they have the opportunity to apply conditions at some point if they wish to. And then 23 is that, so that's the one for Brook Trails Community Services District. 22 is the CAL FIRE letter, which I think I communicated with you guys when we initially referred out the project. CAL FIRE seemed to think that this was a boundary line adjustment, and so they declared that it was exempt, which is not correct. So we reached out to them again, just asking them to take another crack at it. And so whatever other conditions that they might want to impose, those will be incorporated with the staff report following this meeting before we get to Planning Commission.
So you did that, Russ?
I did. I reached out to, I forgot the name of the fire captain right now, but the one that initially.
Valergo?
I'm sorry?
Captain Valergo, Vallerga. That's who signed the original agreement.
Yes, that sounds right.
Does that sound familiar? Yeah, okay.
So he was the one that reviewed the initial application. So I reached out to him again. I haven't heard back. You know, if it takes a little bit more time, we might just kind of send it to the main email intake. Maybe he's not working on those anymore. It's hard to say. So.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure we didn't have to send something in.
No, that was part of our referral process. And so we'll just follow up on that and make sure we have a condition from them before we get to Planning Commission.
Okay.
Okay, so the next section is hydrology. I'm going to turn it over to environmental health.
All right, we're on number 24. We're going to select number 24. It's blank right now, but we're going to check it off. And really, got one outstanding item from what I have in the files. The septic that is for the main house that will remain on parcel 1 does not have a replacement area identified on record. It is permitted. The septic for the second residential unit, which will become the single family dwelling on parcel 2 or proposed parcel 2, there is on file primary and replacement leach field there. The condition is going to be for number 26 for parcel 1.
I believe when the house was built in 1982, they didn't require a second site. Is that correct? And so this would be an updated requirement?
Permits from 1986, the requirement from the basin plan and the regional board was from 1974. So I really don't know why that did not occur. There is no official policy at the county environmental health that said, as of this date, you shall. But any new development like a subdivision would require those newer requirements either way. So there, it wouldn't have exempted it from meeting that for subdivision, if that's what you meant.
Right.
The second
And it,
go
go
right
ahead. I was going to say, since we've checked off number 24 also, then when we go to do the soil test for the expansion, we should call you guys out.
You should give us notice. It requires notification at least.
Oh, okay. So 15 days, send you an email, that suffice? Okay.
And I got ahead of myself. We're going to select number 25 for parcel 1, but I recognize that that condition has been met. I'm memorializing that condition for the subdivision.
That'll be an easy one.
Huh?
That will be an easy one then.
Yeah.
Right.
That's why I wanted to jump to the one thing that is actually outstanding versus what was required for subdivision. And we are going to go to number 28, which is the map requirement. And we're going to check number 28. And we're on number 29. We're going to check number 29. The first option, 1,200 gallon proof of water. There is a proof of water on record, which was required for the accessory dwelling unit. That will meet that condition.
So that one has been met, or you're asking for a proof of water for the primary structure?
The inland proof of water is required, that's required for subdivision in this area, is the same for accessory dwelling units. It's not always the case, but for their lot, it is the same requirement.
That one has also been met.
And that leaves the condition number 30, which is the standard mineral analysis. So they'll need to get a water sample tested for all of those items. We have a lab in the county, but they don't have to go in the county. They just have to go to a state certified lab. But all of the items in number 30 need to be tested for. And the results turned into environmental health. And if any of them are above normal limits, then a note's going to be required to appear on the map that says, for example, high levels of iron may be encountered on these parcels. And those are all of environmental health requirements. And if you have any questions about them, let's talk about it.
Okay, so I can talk to you, Marlena, outside of this meeting?
Oh,
Okay.
and you can ask any questions right now too.
Yeah, I'll have to do a little bit more research.
Okay, so for,
Yeah, I'll talk to Sam about this.
okay,
I can help you with the water test, Barbara. You just have to get a sample to the lab.
Okay.
Okay, so then we'll move on from the hydrology conditions. And it looks like we jumped down to transportation. And Alex, I think I incorporated your conditions already, but why don't you just take us through those real quick?
Okay. So it'll be 40C. You want me to read through them or?
Just give us a Cliff's notes.
Okay.
Yeah.
40C, if a parcel map is filed, all easements of record shall be shown on the parcel map. 40E, all natural drainage and water courses shall be considered as easements. We jump to 41E, install or replace drainage culverts wherever necessary, and the addition of the existing culverts within the access easement shall be cleaned of any debris.
So for that one, does transportation come out and do an inspection and decide when it might be necessary, or how is that determined?
Yeah, we already went out there in the beginning and took a look at the existing culverts, and there was an existing culvert that needs to be cleaned out along the access easement, and they are aware of which one needs to be cleaned out.
Alex, is that the one near on Timberline Road itself?
That's the one. Yeah, that's the one on Timberline itself where it kind of crosses under the access road that you take, as well as that at that little fork in the road at the Y.
Yeah, so that's like a mile away from my house, and I wonder why that needs to be cleared out. It's never flooded. It's I've lived here 40 years. There's never been an issue.
Yeah, as part of the subdivision, we just want to make sure that the the entire access easement for the subdivision is adequate and safe, and so we just want to make sure that it is fully cleaned out for proper drainage.
So that's where Timberline meets Sherwood?
No,
No,
this is along the private road, along the access easement.
Okay.
I don't know what the name of that little side road is that comes off of
Chinkapin. Yeah, we call it Chinkapin Road. It's where where this little road goes off, and it's about a mile from my property. I just question why it's been plugged up for years. There's never been any flooding there.
Yeah, it's just a requirement. If it was rusted out, then our requirement would be to replace it. But in this case, it looks like it's in good condition. It just needs to be cleaned out.
Got it. Okay.
Okay, so I think we're on.
And then so after that, 41H, which is the standard private road approach, and that's including that replacement of the culvert at the driveway approach and the asphalt 20 feet from the edge of the road. I met Barbara out there and we discussed that condition on site.
We're proposing 18-inch on that, right, Alex, not 24?
That one, I think, yeah,
Yeah.
we could, we
Yes,
can do, we can change it 18-inch or match existing. I forget, you know,
I think that was what was existing, so, or smaller.
Yeah, I think we can make it 18 inches or match existing because it was a little, the ends were crushed and it was hard, kind of hard to tell the existing size of that culvert.
Right.
And this is for condition H.
Yes.
You want to modify that to 18?
Let's modify that to, instead of saying 24-inch culvert, let's change that to 18.
Okay.
And then leave it in their ORS size determined by transportation. That way, if when you guys go to rip it out, it is bigger, then it will need to be the bigger size. And then sorry, I forgot a couple of them. Oh, wait, right here. 40, 41L. If approval of the tentative map is conditioned upon certain improvements being made by the subdivider shall notify Department of Transportation when such improvements have been completed. Prior to filing of the parcel map, required road improvements must be inspected and approved by the Department of Transportation. Current inspection fees apply.
That's condition M.
Yeah, I've got M there too.
That's interesting. It's L on mine.
We know which one you mean.
Yeah, you know which one I mean. And then the one after that, which is M on mine, any proposed work within county right of way requires obtaining an encroachment permit.
Okay, yeah, I had those two checked, and then, so the one I have for L is that road improvement shall be constructed in accordance with improvement plans prepared by a civil engineer.
No, not that one.
Okay.
Big difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's it.
So then that just takes us all the way down to condition 48, which is just that building development setbacks need to be shown on the parcel map. And condition 50, which just says that you have to certify that all your taxes are paid and up to date before you file the map. So I think that's all we have today. Do you guys have any questions for us, Sam or Barbara?
I'm good.
Yeah, I'm good. No.
Okay, so then, you know, I know you know this, Sam, but just for everybody's information, these are just proposed conditions. So we'll get a motion to recommend these to the Planning Commission, and then so the Planning Commission is going to be the final hearing body on this. They can choose to accept these or modify these or do whatever they prefer to do with it. So there's still another hearing to be had, but you are on your way. All right, so can I get a motion to recommend these conditions?
I motion that we recommend these conditions to Planning Commission for minor subdivision 2021-0003.
I second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you. You guys are done. for
Awesome.
today.
Thanks, everybody.
Sure.
Have a good Christmas if I don't talk to you.
You too. Thanks.
You too.
2022. Here we come.
Okay, so next up, we have agenda item 5A, which is the pre-application conference. This was continued from the November 10th meeting. This is for the Mendocino Coast Humane Society. The request is to demolish the vacant building and add 938 square feet to the existing 3,700 square feet ARC thrift store to be used for receiving and sorting donations and minor renovations to the interior. This is within the coastal zone, 2.33 miles south of the town of Fort Bragg, on the northwest corner of the intersection of State Route 1 and Simpson Lane at 18,520 North Highway 1, Fort Bragg. So the planner that did the review here is Angie Lane. So why don't you take us through your notes a little bit, Angie, and then we'll go to EH and DOT for comments. Hang on one sec, Angie. I'm sorry, I forgot to check. Do we have anybody here for this item today? No. Because I know that we continued it last time because nobody was available to come to the meeting. Well, in that case, why don't we go ahead and continue it again? Because we don't want to review it without them having the benefit of hearing it, right? Sorry. Kind of a false start there. No, I think she's for the next one. Okay, sorry, Richard. Looks like that was a false alarm, but thanks for being available.
Not a problem, anytime.
Okay, so these are not noticed, so I don't think we need to have a motion or anything on this. But we will try this again in January.
Okay. Do we don't need a motion for that, right?
No action is taken. I don't believe pre-apps are noticed. It's not a hearing, it's just advisory. Okay, well, that moves us on to agenda item 5B, which is another pre-application conference, 2021-0007. The owner is Kevin Porter, applicant is Michelle Deline. Minor subdivision of a 111-acre parcel into two parcels along Bell Springs Road. One parcel is approximately 70 acres. The other would be approximately 40 acres. Changes would include additions of necessary utilities for subdivision, including water source, septic, and road access. There are currently two driveways that take access off of Bell Springs Road. This is approximately 13.6 miles northwest of the town of Laytonville on the east side of Bell Springs Road at 61201 Bell Springs Road. Looks like Mr. Lee is here. Oh, and Keith is here. Sorry, I stole a little bit of your thunder. Do you want to give us an overview of the project here?
Yeah, I just mentioned I have to leave at 10 if I don't get finished with this.
Okay.
So, like you said, it's a subdivision proposal to subdivide a 111-acre parcel into two separate properties. The only issues I see with it is there's no septic systems and no potable water sources for the parcels, and road improvements, I would imagine, would have to be completed. So that's kind of where this is at. There's some structures on the property, and the property owner has stated that they're just being used as barns. So I'll probably just leave it at that and turn it back to Russ.
Okay, so let's go to environmental health. And then Michelle, this is just an open discussion, so jump in at any time if you have any questions or comments or anything, just fire away.
Okay. Yeah, no problem.
So there is very little in our file. All I have is a septic permit from 1989 that was issued but never finalized and voided out later. So there is some soils work that was associated with that you're welcome to have. Standard conditions for any subdivision is going to be a septic design submitted to environmental health for each proposed parcel. Each septic design needs to be proposed for a 3-bedroom structure. It doesn't mean that's the only thing that can be built or that it has to be built, but that's the standard for proving developability of the proposed parcel for septic. So you would have those 2 conditions if you were gonna subdivide. So that would be for both proposed parcels. And for water, the recommended conditions would be a proof of water for inland and a general mineral analysis of that water source. And the proof of water for inland needs to be conducted off of either a spring or a well located on one of the, anywhere on the original parcel or on a
Okay,
parcel.
good. Oh,
And
sorry, that's a Christmas miracle for me. Thank you.
Yay.
Yay.
You have questions about that?
Yeah, I was just, we've received a potable water source on the property. This is a complete rehabilitation project here, all the buildings are used as agricultural. What I was thinking was the worst case scenario was that I was going to have to create 2 wells on both sides and 2 septics. I was anticipating some of that. There has never been a well here. There are potential springs and potential well sites, but there has never been. There is some ag water. And the intention of use is going to be for grazing land. We own alpacas. And so I was just seeing what our workarounds are. So potable water source, it would have to come from a well that we would design on the property, but it could come from that one source to both parcels is what you're telling me? Okay.
So the proof of water is to prove that the subdivision has a reasonable source of water to support the development. It can be on a spring or on a well. If it's the spring, you're limited to when you can do the test, which is going to be during the dry season, mid-August through November 1st.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's a really shallow well, which is not typically drilled these days, that's the same requirement. So if it was less than 40 feet, then you'd also have that for a well. But typically, most wells going in these days are far deeper than 40 feet.
Mm-hmm.
And what you have to prove is a 1/2 gallon per minute per proposed parcel. So the plan is that the first well, the first water source, the first spring can yield 1 gallon per minute. If the first water source does not yield 1 gallon per minute, but yields more or equal to a 1/2 gallon per minute, then you have to develop the next water source until they all add up to 1 gallon per minute.
Okay. And then, so this has to be drinkable water.
The general mineral analysis is required, and there's a list. I can read it to you from the last subdivision of what's required to be tested. Where'd that go?
Is there any way to find it online at all?
Yeah, and Keith can email it to you. Russ just sent it out to us for the last subdivision.
Yeah, I don't need to read it again. If I can just read it and go through it,
Okay, so what happens is that if anything is above allowable limits for any of the items that must be tested, a note has to be recorded on the final map that says high levels of this have been encountered and may be encountered in future water sources. So it doesn't stop the subdivision. Say you have a ton of iron in the water, which is more of a quality issue than a health hazard issue. It would be required that say that high levels of iron were encountered on water sources on this subdivision and may be encountered in the future. So that's how the future purchase is supposed to be notified that this could be an issue for water sources on the parcel, but it doesn't stop the subdivision from moving forward. So the levels aren't what you're calling potable. It doesn't say must have potable water. It says must have water tested, and notification of what's in that water must be on the final map if it is above normal limits.
So, and it has to come from a spring or a well. It can't be like a purification system out of a holding pond or anything, because all we use is ag water and we get drinking water delivered.
Ask that question again. I don't think I followed you. So you get ag water
So
from a pond.
the water, yeah, the proof of water to complete the minor subdivision, does that have to come from a well or a spring? There's no way to implement a purification system on like a holding tank to use our existing water in the holding ponds and stuff. It'd have to be.
That is correct. Unless those ponds are permitted by the Regional Water Quality Control Board as a state small water system. Because then you would, that system would be considered a public water system. And then you would be permitted under the Regional Water Quality Control Board drinking water permit to use that water.
Okay. I think that's all my questions.
I had a follow-up question just kind of for my own information. Is there anything in that test or anything that if it showed up in a sufficiently high amount would require some kind of mitigation or filtering to allow the subdivision?
Well, a lot of things would require filtration to become potable, but the existence of the filtration system is not a requirement of the subdivision. I'm pulling out the list. So iron, hard water, highly corrosive water, alkaline water, dissolved solids, chloride, fluoride, nitrates, sulfates, calcium, magnesium, all of those things could be above potable water standards and need to be treated before it can become potable water.
That's reviewed at a later date and not part of the subdivision process.
That's not a requirement to subdivide. It is not, like right now, nobody is required to demonstrate a potable water sample before their subdivision can be approved. They have to acknowledge that certain conditions may be on the parcel of in the water source for the parcels to be subdivided that will need to be addressed for human consumption in the future.
Okay, good to know.
I lied. I actually have a couple more questions.
Okay.
Michelle, I just emailed you that text for those elements that need to be tested for.
Thank you so much. Yeah, and so just kind of a brief history is I bought this entire parcel. I am actually the current owner. I applied for this pre-application a couple months before close of escrow, and escrow has since closed. So my intention was to buy this entire property. I have a friend who's in kind of dire straits with his health, and he needed to sell right away, but he didn't want to sell at the price that we offered him. So we're dividing with a credit to our contract back to him so that he can sell or do whatever he wishes with his 40-acre parcel. So I guess my question is like regarding the water. It's like, all right, I dig a well, you know what I mean? Or I find a spring, and then I'm required to have like an access to water for that parcel that he would take back. Is that what's going to happen there? Because it's like, okay, I can prove that this water is good for both sides of this division, but then do I have to allow access to that water permanently to whoever ends up buying it? Like if he ends up selling it, or if to him, you know, I'm just a little bit confused on that. Or is it just, hey, I need to prove that I have a well that pumps a gallon of water per minute?
Well,
is that all I need?
I totally understand. So that would depend. So the best for what I think I'm hearing from you would be when you propose your subdivision, wherever that well is yours on your parcel.
Okay.
If that's not the case, because the only water is right next to his is on his 40, then you can propose a deeded easement on your subdivision that the water is for the sole purpose of parcel A, even though it's located on parcel B. So option number one is that it's on parcel A and it's for parcel A. It does not require to be a water source for parcel B. It is required to demonstrate that water is reasonably accessible for the other parcels to be developed.
All right, I'm loving this. I'm loving it. And then I guess the last thing, environmental health, honestly, you're the people I really want to talk to, because all the other structures, they're all agricultural buildings. I do not have any intention of living in any of these structures. There is, however, one house, is the Brown house. It is recorded on the thing. It says a dilapidated single family residence. It is, however, a handsome agricultural building. It was applied for a Class K permit in the 80s. It never fulfilled those requirements. I would, in any way I possibly can. The house does have good bones. It definitely is an agricultural building, would be great for agricultural storage. So I wanted to know what, it was applied for a septic. It did not complete the requirements. I want to know, is that Class K still available if I go through with the requirements that were set forth, or, you know, what do you see as my obstacles there?
Well, I first have to tell you, this is like 90% a building question, but me and Russ can pretty much tell you that if you wanted to go through getting a Class K ag structure, it would require that there's no bathroom or kitchen in it. So if they exist, they would need to be removed. If you apply for a structure that has no plumbing in it, environmental health is just going to make sure that it won't affect any of the leach fields for any future structures that we know of. So we won't let you infringe on an existing septic. In your case, it's already existing, so I don't think that's, you know, going to be a problem. But we only require a septic if the structure proposed is going to have plumbing and need a septic.
Yeah, now I want to rip out like anything that's there. I just want to keep the bones, and I want to use it to store some of my larger farm equipment, you know.
And I would say, talk to building about building standards for that.
Okay.
What do you think, Russ?
Let me see if Richard's still available here.
He's the building plans reviewer. Because I have no idea.
Yeah, I just wanted to know about, you know, the septic requirements, because it was like, okay, like this was filed for a Class K in the 80s, and then they never provided anything for the septic. It's like, man, if I do that, and then I'd have a septic already on that side, you know what I mean? And then I'd be able to Class K it. But I want to do, honestly, I'm just trying to keep whatever storage I can, because if y'all say I have to knock down everything, you know, I got a trailer and I got a storage container. So.
And the septic needs to be proved on a location on each proposed parcel, but it's not tied to a structure.
Okay.
It's just, there is a leach field of a 3-bedroom capacity potential here on this parcel here, and over here on this parcel here.
Okay, so are you, I'm sorry for interrupting. Do you have to be, is this approval for a potential septic, or is this oh my gosh, I love you right now, Marlena. Thank you. Okay, so I have to prove that I could put a septic in both places.
To prove that this new parcel that you're creating that's smaller can stand alone and support development for septic and water on its own. Okay. But you have grander plans that may be 2 birds with 1 stone.
Okay.
Yeah, it will have to be designed, but it doesn't have to be installed.
Correct.
Okay. Yay. Thanks, Vance.
Sorry, Vance, I didn't realize. I apologize.
That's okay. I was listening.
He's just kind of hitchhiking along with this so far. He's not tied to the project.
He's right. You have to submit a design that is designed by a qualified site evaluator, and it needs to be approved, but you don't pull the permit and you don't build it unless you actually want to.
But that's not the same with the water, correct?
Correct.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, we have no water genie that can say.
Yeah, you just have to show the proof that there is water there.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Michelle, this is Richard Angley. He's one of our senior building inspectors. So I don't know if you want to run that building question by him again about converting that old SFR.
I have a building that was, it is a landmark in the area, and I would like to keep it. It was at one point designed, it looks like it was designed as an ag building. There have been hippies that previously lived in it. I am not one of those hippies. I think it is a dilapidated single family residence. However, it is a very handsome agricultural building and a landmark in the area. I do not intend to have running water inside of it. I do not intend to have electrical. And so I'm just trying to save this house. And I just wanted to see where I could find the building requirements for potentially making it Class K, potentially making it ag building, anything I can potentially do without any intention of living in it to save it.
How big's your property?
It's going to be 70 acres. At the moment, it's 111 entirety. The 70-acre
Okay.
parcel. House.
So in our muni code, section 18 would have all the requirements for that. Do you know, so I'm assuming the building, the condition it's in is rather old?
Yes.
And it'll show up on the tax record as having been around.
Yes.
From about what year do you think?
The 70s. So I'm not sure.
Okay.
The permit for
Yeah.
the 80s. It was
They
a
applied
building
for Class K in the 80s with EH in building, but they never got them final. They got the permits issued, but not final.
Okay. And so now we're looking at just converting it to a storage.
Correct.
So it sounds to me like we need to probably deal with the old permit that was never finalized. If you're going to submit a new permit, Class K, and request to turn into a storage or ag building, we would want to probably get some kind of letter asking to cancel the previous permit, because we're submitting a new permit to final this out as a different type of structure. If you go to storage or ag, you'll have to remove and cap off all the plumbing and stuff like that in it. The ag requirements would be on our website under forms and handouts for the ag exempt permit. How many stories is it?
2.
Okay. Wouldn't qualify for ag exempt. So you definitely want to go Class K as some kind of a storage type structure, or whatever you choose. But it sounds like it would be rather simple and straightforward to me.
Yay.
Yeah. How far away is it from other structures and property lines?
There's an easement near it, but
so
there's no other. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, go ahead. So what
There's
I'm
no,
looking for, number for me is it's 50 feet away from property lines and 50 feet away from other structures. That would make your Class K simpler because you wouldn't have to file in urban interface requirements.
Okay.
Now, it's true, you only get one Class K per parcel, correct?
No.
Nope, that's not the case. Okay.
No.
I see a hand raised, but I don't know why. It's for a phone number. Three 354-0372. Okay.
Okay. Thanks, Rich. That was great.
You guys, can you hear me now?
Oh yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. Oh yeah. This is Kevin.
The
A question
previous
about
owner.
water. Yeah.
Oh, this is the previous
question
owner.
yes. A question about water. We have a shared developed. We have a shared developed spring with a neighbor. The spring itself is a spring box on neighbor's property, but the collection tanks are on what would be the 40-acre parcel. Well, could that count towards the water requirement?
The water source needs to be deeded to the parcel to count.
Okay, but if it's eased or deeded, would that work?
Sorry, I'm looking at Michelle's face and wondering what's happening there.
This is the previous owner that they accidentally sent this to, and it's like, no.
I would think that if it's off the other property and it's deeded to, we're not subdivided yet. In order for it to count, it would have to have any subdivision there too in the deed. That way you're not overburdening the original intent. Because what's it servicing now?
Right now, it services that lower 40 acres.
What is it servicing? If you have water, what's the water going to?
Oh, it's been going to water for the alpacas and the sheep, things like that. But it is a good spring.
So yeah, so you would probably have to make sure that the neighbor was in agreement for, obviously for future development of both these parcels.
And in past cases that are similar to this, there has been a water agreement required that was approved by county council and environmental health that memorialized the sharing of the water source between the different parcels and was drawn up by a lawyer and had specifics about how much water was deeded to each parcel and created some requirements for maintenance and was drawn up by an attorney.
Cool. So it is possible to use an existing spring for this requirement. Thank you.
If it's deeded to the proposed parcels with an approved water sharing agreement, including all parcels utilizing it, it is possible.
Cool. Thank you.
It is not a requirement. You can propose other things.
Do you have another question, Michelle?
Yeah, I just want to make sure that in the future, all of the notifications, emails, and everything, that it is corrected that I am now the current owner of this property. It's been a long year getting this property, and so any notification should go to me as I am the current owner. And Kevin is now on here because he got a previous notice. In the future, I would like to not have him on the meetings. So if we could just go ahead and update my information regarding this current APN.
Sure. And for for this pre-app, no action is taken, and once we're done here, it's basically closed out. So if you do file another application, that will be a completely fresh start. And there has been a significant lag between deeds being filed and the property tax records being updated.
Oh, absolutely. I understand.
Okay, Alex, did you have any transportation comments? I know we're right on the county road, so there's probably not a whole lot to look at. Go for it. You're muted. There you go.
Okay. So for transportation, so there's an existing access road from Bell Springs out to the 40-acre proposed parcel, right?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, so we would require an access easement of 40. And does that road that serves that 40-acre parcel serve anybody else's parcels, or is it just for that?
It does. It serves
I think you muted yourself.
I believe it serves two others. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Okay.
Okay, there's two.
Muted again. Mid-sentence.
Okay, yeah. Two other parcels included. I'm getting my charger right now, so.
Okay, so yeah, there'll need to be an access easement of 40 feet if it is serving 4 or less parcels.
Okay. I'm not sure exactly what that means, but I'm sure Vance can kind of clue me in.
It's the easement width. So if you're one parcel that you're servicing, it has to be 40. If it's more than one parcel, it has to be, I believe, 60, correct?
It's if it's going to be serving more than 4 parcels, it has to be 60. So less 4 or less 40-foot easement is fine.
So is that a single easement on some part of that road?
Yeah,
to kind of maintain emergency vehicles, or
there'll be a easement to allow the back, the people that live beyond your 70-acre parcel to be able to access that road through your property out to Bell Springs.
right? Okay.
And then
And this comment,
what?
would you be telling me what modifications need to come pending an inspection?
Yeah. Yeah, I'll go over that right now. So, and then
Requirement.
I haven't looked up the current if we have right of way out there, what the current right of way out there on Bell Springs, but usually we ask for a dedication by parcel map, usually of 30 feet from center line of Bell Springs Road. And I can get you the exact amount of feet that we would ask for later on. And so that would be the frontage of your property along Bell Springs Road.
And this is all stuff that would be done just with the filing of the map, Michelle.
Yeah. And I don't.
So is this a requirement of a plan of easement or the finalization of an easement, or because I don't even know if I have that or if it's something I have to.
It would be something that
in.
it would be something that you would dedicate the 30 feet from center line of Bell Springs Road along the frontage of your property to the county.
Okay.
And then as far as improvements, the subdivision road within the access easement would need to be 22 foot wide, 8 inches of class 2 aggregate base. So that would be from Bell Springs Road to access the 40-acre parcel.
And that's going to be your biggest expense right there. So.
Okay. And yeah, obviously, Vance, you must know that this is all Chinese to me. So if we could jump on a call at a certain point and kind of talk about this, that'd be great.
Yeah, and then we do have our tab H for exceptions to that. I haven't reviewed the site itself. So there's some exceptions, if the terrain is rough terrain, or there's certain exceptions that can be applied for. It just depends on the circumstances.
Okay.
That's install. I don't know if there's drainage culverts along that existing road. You may need to install some or replace them if there are. And then grades for the subdivision road must not exceed 16%. If there's any grades higher than 16%, then we need a letter from the fire agency. And then usually if it's a grade above 16%, that needs to be chip sealed if the fire agency approves it. And then there at the end of the access easement to the 40-acre parcel will need to be a turnaround. It can either be a cul-de-sac or a hammerhead T if the fire agency is fine with that. And, encroachment permit, if you're doing work, towards Bell Springs Road, the Bell Springs Road is, graded, gravel road. So we wouldn't have any paving requirements or anything like that.
Okay.
And that's about it. Main thing is the road up to that parcel.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you have any questions?
Not really, a lot of the, go ahead, Vance does, because he knows.
It looks like Bell Springs, you have 100-foot right of way through there.
Do you really?
Yeah, I just pulled up the subdivision. I was kind of floored on it too.
Yeah.
And there is that little road that she's talking about. Looks like there's an easement on that one too that goes further into the back. So yeah, wow.
Yeah, I mean, if that's the case, then
yeah, I don't think you want any more right away than that.
Yeah, it's
wow.
We can make a highway out there now.
Yeah, I think it's probably about the same width as 101 in most cases. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have any further questions, I don't think.
Okay. So, Keith will have the project here. Go ahead and reach out to him if you have any follow-ups or anything. And, I do want to let you know that this is the best information we can provide from the county's point of view, our requirements. There's a certain element of this that is just unknowable until we get a project referral. And it's going to be requirements that would come from outside agencies like CAL FIRE or CDFW or some of these other referral agencies. Because when you submit a project, we refer things out to them to comment. And if they have any conditions or any requirements that they would need, we would incorporate those as part of the project. Pre-apps don't get referred out to agencies because they're basically just discussion only. So we're unable to say what kind of other requirements might pop up during this, during the review process. This is an inland project, so there's probably not going to be any terrible surprises, but it is something just to keep in mind.
Okay, yeah, and I guess regarding everything that was said today, I know that I have 24 months after I apply for all of this to be completed. Would it be in the suggestion?
After approval, after the tentative map is approved, you have 24 months.
Okay, and that takes some time.
Yes, and then you have automatic extensions right now, and I think you're up 3 extensions.
We have there's 2 paid 18-month extensions, and then every so often there's some kind of state action that gives automatic extension. So basically, you'll apply during that initial approval process. There's not really a time limit on it, because we have to incorporate any studies that might need to be done, staff reports, project review. It's once you get that final, that tentative approval from the Planning Commission, that's when your 2-year clock starts.
Okay. I was just wondering, about processes. I'm like, do I start with these notes now, or do I wait until should I apply now and then wait for the approval of the map? Like just a suggestion as a first comer. Just trying to figure this out.
I think it's not a bad idea to, you've already got Vance as a resource here. That's great. Marlena was talking about the well and the water issues. It's definitely a good idea to start exploring what kind of resources you might have for that, because we have a pretty good idea of what EH is going to require should you apply for the subdivision. So if you had that done or on its way to being done by the time you applied, that's definitely going to shorten your approval time.
Okay, thank you.
And one of the referrals, I don't have any idea if this would affect, but the things that Russ is talking about could also be like archaeological.
Yes.
That can add to your time. So if you apply and our commission wants to make sure there's no special resources out there, that could add months to before you can go to subdivision committee. And you go to subdivision committee, then you go to planning commission, and that's where you get your final approved conditions. And that can be, correct me if I'm wrong, Russ, but 6 to 9 months.
Longer.
Okay.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, I'm prepped, I feel like, yeah, I can wait.
But none
Yeah,
of that is,
ARC is a good one. Thank you.
none of that's part of that 24.
Okay. All right, very good.
Okay, so I say we're gonna go ahead and move on. Thanks for calling in, Michelle. So that takes us to our final item, which is agenda item 5C, another pre-application conference, 2021-0009 for Daniel and Becky Thomas. The applicant is Mendocino Commercial Estate Services Incorporated, agent Tom Carter and E.D. Lerman. This is a pre-application conference to discuss subdivision, construction of gravel roads, and utility connection. Parcels would range from approximately 3 acres up to 7 acres. Terrain is flat. Access is provided through easements from Kunzler Ranch Road. This is 1.5 miles northeast of Ukiah at 651 Kunzler Ranch. And our staff planner is Liam Crowley. So why don't you give us a brief actually, let me make sure that we have people here for this project. All right, Emerald Law Group, so you guys, Mendocino Real Estate, okay. Okay, Liam, give us a little overview of the project here.
Sure, hi everyone. So Russ already kind of gave you a brief overview. I'll just kind of go down my list and note anything that I think is important for you to know. I guess the entirety of the parcel is within a 1% annual chance flood hazard area. So if there is going to be development in the future, then that is going to be subject to the floodplain ordinance, which means you're probably going to have to get an elevation certificate to make sure that the basement floor of any structures are going to be above the flood height. Based on the mapping, there was naturally occurring asbestos as well on site, which would probably mean, again, if there's going to be development there in the future, that there's going to be mitigation measures for that. I guess in addition, the mapping indicated there wasn't any biological resources, so probably won't have to worry about that. As far as fees go, if you're going to go with the 5 parcels, from the estimate that I did, it was looking like around 15,000 for 5 parcel subdivision. If you're going to go with 6 parcels, that would be 16,400 for that one, around about. And I just want you to know if any additional well that's going to be proposed for future development, that would be an additional $83 charge if that's going to be part of the application for subdivision. And that's not counting any other reviews like archaeological or fish and wildlife fees that may come up. The only other comments I would have is the parcel is not within either a water or a sewer district, which means that per the general plan, the minimum lot size is 40,000 square feet. Now, all of the kind of tentative maps that you provided for me, all the parcels were well above that, so that shouldn't be an issue. In addition, the parcel is less than a half mile from the jurisdiction boundary of a couple different, from Millview County Water District, Regina Water Company, and Ukiah Valley Sanitation District. So I think probably Marlena will have some comments about if, I don't know if there's any laterals that go out there. But the parcel itself is not actually within any of those jurisdictions. The only other thing I have is just if you wanted to only subdivide 4 parcels instead of 5, that would just be processed as a minor subdivision, and that would be significantly cheaper. It's only going to be about 8,500 instead of 15,000 or so. So that's pretty much all I have.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, and that's a good note. There is a very significant difference between a 5 parcel subdivision, which would basically be 4 parcels and a remainder, and a 6 parcel subdivision, because when you get up into that 6 parcels or greater, it becomes a major subdivision. So there's a lot of other development work that goes into it, and that's typically something that you're going to have to do an environmental impact report for. So we're adding years and tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars to a project like that. the other thing that becomes significant when we're looking at multiple vacant parcels is the county has a affordable housing ordinance, an in lieu fee that has to be paid when you create, I believe it's 2 or more vacant parcels. And that is a fee that is based on the number of vacant parcels that will result from the subdivision. And it goes up, I think it's 2 to 3 parcels, 4 to 5 parcels, and then 5 or greater, it's up to, I think it's as much as 20% of the current median home value. So that's something that would be calculated. That changes every year, but that's also another fee that would come in and can make a significant difference. And go ahead and feel free to jump in anytime if you guys have questions or comments or need some clarification. This is just a kind of an open roundtable discussion here. So Marlena, why don't you cover any EH concerns?
So as it stands, it would be considered a major subdivision. And our standard conditions would be septic for each proposed parcel. I have one permit for this area, a septic permit. And I know that finding leach field area out there hasn't been easy. So I'm kind of curious about the plan there. If you could connect to the sewer district, then you could make smaller parcels. That would mean 12,000 square feet. And, but as it is, it's 40,000 square feet. And so each parcel would need a septic plan submitted and approved. You wouldn't install them or build them, but that is the proof of developability for the proposed parcel. And for the water, with it being a major subdivision, you would need a water source for every 10 proposed parcels. So ideally, you'd have a water source that is located on the parcel that is, it's a half a gallon per minute per proposed parcel. So that's what you have to prove. But if it's going to be more than 10 parcels, you may need to have more than one water source. That is provided the first water source is at least 10 gallons per minute. Do you have any inside information as to whether or not you could get a public water connection?
Hello?
Hello?
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, I'm Tom Carter and I'm here with Edie Learman, and we are owners and representing a group of owners that some are online here. And we have some information. We know that the sewer trunk line is out there, and the sewer district that Ernie Whiff, I believe, is president of, and they're trying to develop out of district service agreements, I believe they're called, because it's county and city. So they're trying to develop these agreements to allow the people out there to hook up. We do have the septic permit for our lot that we're actually just renewing to keep it active.
Mm-hmm.
So, but in the future, we hope to hook up to that sewer. But if we have to develop the septics for the lots, we will. And we're also talking with Millview Water about putting in a meter there. But we also have a couple of massive wells on the property that we haven't run a pump test on them, but I know they're the old masonite wells that are 30-inch casings and more than 100 feet deep. I haven't measured all the way to the bottom, but there's a massive amount of water out there. So we don't think that's going to be a problem. But we're still talking to Millview too about putting a meter in. We don't know how many meters available in the future they may have. So we just wanted to make sure that we had enough water too with the wells that would be okay there.
Yeah, I think the big difference for that would be how many proposed parcels you could get. Because if you're able to connect to the sewer system and you're able to connect to Millview, then your minimum lot size goes down to 6,000 square feet per lot.
6,000, okay.
So it's 6,000, 12,000, 40,000. Those are your 3 levels.
Okay,
So you can get public water and sewer at 6,000 square foot lots. Only one of the 2 is 12,000 square foot lots.
okay.
None, 40,000.
All right.
So we can do 12,000
and
now.
40,000 is roughly an acre
Yeah.
lot, so.
Yeah, we call it a Mendocino acre. I don't know where it came from.
Right. Yeah, so I don't think any of that's a problem. Part of our meeting today was we kind of wanted to see, we don't have a final plan yet, but what our goal is something like the Rose Industrial Park, because we know they're full and on a waiting list to get in there. And several people, we know several businesses in there. They're looking for their own ownership too, that they can't find industrial buildings that are small enough to handle some of these boutique businesses that are around. And so our goal is to make a little industrial park there and that people can own, and that we would rent out some too. So our question was the difference between a minor and major use permit today. So a lot of this information answers some of that and what the cost might be. So, and how much things we have to do for paving, and we know we're in the flood zone too. And I've had some discussion with Ryan Rose at the building department about floodplain buildings, and depends on the usage and stuff. And so, and we plan on getting an elevation certificate soon and seeing what we're up against there.
Okay, that's all a good plan. Alex, you want to touch on the road requirements?
Yeah, we have 2 accesses, one that comes off of Kunstler Road and one that comes off of Ford Road. And
Yeah, so whichever route that you guys choose to use, whether you come off Ford Road or Kunstler Ranch, there will need to be a 60-foot wide easement from a county road to serve your parcels. If you're serving 4, if it has the potential to serve 4 or less, then it can go down to 40 feet easement. And then all easements shall be shown on the parcel map. But in terms of road improvements, so since it's industrial, it will need to be 26 feet wide. And then 20 feet of that needs to be surfaced with a double chip seal. That's our minimum requirement. If you guys choose to use asphalt, that would be even better, but double chip seal is our minimum requirement.
you say 20 feet chip sealed?
Yeah, 20-foot chip sealed, and then 26-foot rock base, and it's going to be 12 inches of base. So
Is that regardless of whether or not it's a minor or a major subdivision?
correct.
And what on the 60-foot easement, I'm not sure how wide our easements are, but if we say had a 50-foot easement and wanted to take 10 feet of our property and add it to that to make that 60 foot, can we do that?
Yeah, I mean, it needs to be a 60-foot easement along the access route. So the entire access route from a county road needs to be 60 feet wide.
And we'll have to check on that, but I haven't.
Yeah, I'm not sure what your current easements are.
Yeah, I don't either. So we'll check that out. Now, what about, does that road have to be above the floodplain?
We don't have any requirement for that.
Okay.
Typically, it's only building building permits, building issues that affect floodplain.
Okay.
And
So-
is there any way to make it so that you don't have, if we don't have a 60-foot wide easement, is there a process for applying for a variant to that?
There is our tab H for exceptions. I don't know if that can be applied for easements.
And you say if it's 4 or less, it's only has to be 40 feet?
If at the towards the end of your access easement, if you only have 4 parcels or less that's going to be serving, then it can be 40 feet.
Okay.
Oh, so then you don't have to have the 60-foot wide any longer?
Right. So like for instance, if you're coming off, Kunzler Ranch Road, there's definitely more than, has the potential to serve more than 4 parcels, then it need to be 60 feet up until it only serving 4 or less parcels.
So that was kind of my question too there, Alex. So Kunzler Ranch is private. So say they're coming off of Kunzler Ranch and it looks like it goes across granite or something here. Say just for the sake of argument, they have an existing 40-foot easement across granite for the road.
Right.
They'd have to go back and renegotiate that easement to get it up to 60, or is there some kind of exception because to fill the maximum available space?
Yeah, you could probably apply for an exception through our tab H exception procedures. And then we can take a look at that and possibly grant that exception.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're right next door to Granite. They're just to the north of us. And I think the easement that is on our northern boundary is Millview Waters. They've got pumps down at the river, old pumps.
And a well.
And a well, yeah.
Yeah. And they're actually talking about bringing those back online too. I don't know if they've talked to you yet.
They don't need to talk to me for that one.
Okay.
It's part of that. The state water board is their permitting agency for the water, for the public water system.
Okay.
But I was there for construction.
Right. And just to recap, for less than 4 parcels is 8,500 for the application, and 5 parcels is 15,000, and 6 was 16,400, and I guess in increments up from there. And is that just the application fee?
Yes, that's just the application fee. So then, so the text I found for the population and housing, which is the in lieu fee for affordable housing. So if it's a 3 parcel division, basically 2 vacant parcels, you're looking at 2% of the current median sales value.
Does this affect us being industrial land too, or is this only residential?
That's a good question. It might only apply to residential. But I think we had discussed that before. That's something I'd have to check on. But worst case scenario, if you did have to pay this, that's going to be affected by the number of lots.
Okay.
Question I lost.
When you had talked about the roads and you said the 4 parcel, are you talking about subdividing 4 parcels plus the original 1, or are you talking about a new map potentially that just has 4 parcels on it? And in that case, you would consider easing back potentially on those easement requirements?
So, the the way I understand is if it's serving, so even if the access easement, before you get to the property, it has the ability to serve more than 4 parcels, so that it would need to be 60 feet wide. So if, on your kind of typical, on your little layouts that you have there, if it's, with the access road entering the property, coming down to serve each of the parcels, if there's only 4 parcels, then from there, it would only need to be 40 feet wide. Does that make sense?
Yes, but my question is like, if we are talking about the area that we have an easement over Millview Waters parcel, and let's say hypothetically that easement is 50 feet wide, not 60 feet wide, could we apply for a variant but limit the subdivision to only 4 as opposed to 5, which we had previously proposed, the 4 original and the 1, or the 1 original and the 4 new ones?
Yeah, you can apply for an exception to, any of our standards if it qualifies for an exception.
Okay.
And I can send you our tab H for exception procedures as well.
And Alex, are you with DPW?
I'm with Department of Transportation.
Okay.
Kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
So I remember the other comment I was going to make, and Tom, I think you touched on a little bit earlier, is with the Rose subdivision, they did a couple of lot splits, but I think they did a lot of the other permitting through the use permits. So it might be possible to do some combination of that, so you don't have to go and create all these little individual lots, but still end up with separate buildings and separate uses that can be used in that same kind of industrial context.
Okay.
Because that looks like 5 or 6 parcels.
Well,
Looks like there's 4 right there. Yeah, for Rose.
I talked with someone earlier and they had told me up to 5, and I didn't know if that for a minor use permit, but now it's 4.
No, for a minor subdivision, you mean?
Yeah.
So for a minor, you have 4 parcels, and then you have what's called a remainder parcel, which is, it's, for all intents and purposes, it's 5 separate lots.
Okay, I got it.
The remainder has some special limitations about what can be conditioned. The original purpose of remainders was for someone to divide their property, sell off the front, and keep the back for themselves to build a house on at a later date. So with that in mind, the remainder parcel is still treated as a separate parcel, but the improvements typically don't have to be made until it gets developed. And some people do that right away. Some people will put it off until the very last minute.
But I just want to make sure we've got 2 different applications we've been talking about, major subdivision and minor subdivision. But Russ is also mentioning that besides a major subdivision or a minor subdivision, there's potential with a minor use permit or a major use permit for each, or for the parcel as it is, or for each proposed parcel, depending on what you want to do. So the use permit different from the subdivision.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, so you have a bunch of options. I mean, we're just kind of throwing out ideas because the project isn't super well defined at this point. So it seems like we're kind of coming from all directions, but we're just, sort of spitballing a little bit. There's probably a couple of different ways to accomplish ultimately what you want to do here. It doesn't necessarily have to be with just a subdivision, although that is one option. So just keep that.
Do you have copies of the parcel layouts that we had submitted?
I think so.
Yeah.
Option 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, I just had a kind of a question about if we just reference layout number 1, I want to understand this easement issue. So my understanding is that on the left where the road would be going, that road would have to be 60 feet wide in terms of an easement of what was granted to each of the parcels, like the 3-acre on top, that would have to be giving all the people on the bottom a 60-foot wide easement. But it's the same requirement in order, like way up on the top where it says roadway, that 60-foot easement requirement is also required there, that we grant everybody all the way access to the public road.
Correct. Yeah, we need to show access that each parcel created has, you know, that 60-foot easement to a county road.
Even if like right now, we don't have 60-foot easement over the entire property.
Correct.
That would be one of those potential exceptions.
That'd be a potential exception that, yeah, we'd have to look into what your, you know, existing easement is, and then you can, you know, there's some different criteria on what would grant an exception, and I can send you that list of you know, list of reasons for exceptions.
That would be great. Thank you. I understand now.
Do you have any more questions?
No,
I think that's enough information for today.
unless you have more questions for us.
Yeah.
I don't think we have any more questions. You know, feel free to go ahead and reach out to us if you have some more. You know, Liam's a good place to start. If you do decide you want to submit an application, you know, we're happy to look at that and give you some updated fees and everything as you go forward.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
It's nice to speak to you guys, and we will move on.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, so that takes us to agenda item 6, which is matters from staff. You guys have anything you want to bring